Hello and welcome back to Neverwinter Nights, Arelith, a persistent world in which players are allowed to express their creativeness through roleplay. You get to make your very own fantasy character and set out to explore Arelith and its neighbouring islands. Lately we've been talking a lot about what it is you can do as a character, and while we've mostly been playing cops and robbers, there are other professions as well. For instance, Alfred, the character I've been playing as, is a tailor. When he is not sneaking around robbing people blind, he stitches their clothes and makes some of his own instead. At around this time, I believe I was working on a leather armor, and in order to tan the hides, you need tanning acid, which is why we're looking for a cook. Jensen here is leading us to one such individual. We're entering one of the many player-owned apartments, this time with permission, and we're greeted by a whole host of artisans, craftsmen from all walks of life. I quite like stumbling into a group like this. You can tell they have their own chemistry between them, and they don't seem overly concerned with the political landscape of the Isle. Everyone seems to have a role to play as well, no pun intended. There is a cook, a woodcutter, and an artist, all coexisting together in this little flat. Somehow I'm reminded of David Copperfield, but I'm not sure why. Perhaps I pictured them all living in poverty. I'm trying a more long-form approach this time around, so expect some lengthy pauses now and again. I will chime in once there's things I wish to say in regards to what you're witnessing. But I got the feedback last time that you guys wanted to witness the whole scene and not just skipping ahead and talking about a specific topic. And I think that's one of the struggles I've had with making these videos, is because there's usually what I start with is a script, an idea of what to talk about, but even as I get my point across, I might have hours upon hours of footage that could still fit in, but if I only show the bits that I'm talking over and then just move on to the next topic and just cut what you're witnessing, then you'll feel unhappy that you've missed out on roleplay. And I kind of feel the same since I went through the trouble of recording them in the first place, and I have all these different little moments, and maybe they don't deserve, it's kind of like when you see a movie and there are all these deleted scenes, and well, some of them may be good, some of them may be bad, but I love them all, so I want to keep them in. So this time around, we're trying a different format with this, and I'm going to include most of the roleplay, if not all of it, and we'll see how it goes. But that does mean that I won't be talking all of the time, and I can't fill the silence because this is like 40 minutes per section. So, and not only that, but I'm trying to save time from the editing itself by not overly editing the footage. So what I'm usually doing is I'm cutting whenever there's a lot of pauses and typing. I mean, I probably do it anyway, but there's going to be a lot less of that. So if you see me typing or there's like pauses and stuff, and I usually avoid it within groups as well. So when there's bigger groups, everybody's talking at once, there's at least somebody with new dialogue to say, something for you guys to read and something to interact with, sort of. It keeps the conversation flowing a lot more, whereas when there's only like 2 or 3 people, there's sometimes these very lengthy pauses when people are, because obviously everyone's writing, and then they're reversing what they're writing, and then they're writing it again, and they're thinking of new things to say, and oh no, I can't say that, oh no, he spoke now I have to delete all this that I've written and start over. and it's kind of because it's not, you can't interrupt someone, right? You can't be saying things as you type, and someone cuts in and says something, and you can't like discuss things on the fly. You just blurt out these big blocks of monologues, so to speak, and hope that they fit in with the conversation that's going on. Sometimes you lag behind, so you just have to leave it and move on. But most of the time it works. And sometimes you let yourself be interrupted, so you just cut the sentence off. You still include it, but you just let it. You interrupt yourself, so to speak, in the dialogue. But yeah, so there's a lot of chatter. I'm not really sure what the best way to edit these is, really. Still, I haven't made that many of them, and I think I'm determined to get through my backlog before I potentially lose it all with the lack of Windows updates that are coming soon. So I'm trying to get through my backlog as fast as possible, so that I can move on to new things that I might be recording. It's a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if you guys have realized that these things have already happened ages ago. I mean, you must have realized by now, considering I record things. Well, I guess you don't know when I recorded them, but the process of actually uploading things is very slow for me, because I don't do this full time. Nor have I any intention of doing so. But regardless, I will leave you with this scene, and I'll pipe up when things get interesting. Or exciting. Not that this isn't interesting. I'm sure it is. If you don't like it, to be honest, you probably wouldn't stick around anyway, whether I'm speaking or not. So, there's that. Arelith has its own crafting system that I'm sure I've talked about before, but I may as well tell you more about it. There are 6 crafting skills that you can choose from. There is alchemy, which largely consists of making various essences that can be applied to weapons and armor to either boost damage dealt or reduce damage taken. Art crafting specializes in gems and jewelry. Carpentry is used to make bows and arrows, as well as instruments for the bardic types. Forging is what you'd expect, the making of weapons and armor, as well as working the metal such things are made of. Herbalism, also known as cooking, allows you to prepare your own meals, as well as healing supplies and brew potions. Tailoring, naturally, involves anything to do with cloth and light armor. This also includes boots, cloaks, and gloves. All the aforementioned trade skills are necessary in the creation of most items, promoting collaborative effort, such as seen here. Each level, you receive 2 skill points to put into any skill you wish, so you can specialize in one trade skill or do a little bit of everything. The better you are at a trade skill, the better items you can craft. The crafting process itself is quite simple. You roll your trade skill against the difficulty of the item you're about to make. If you fail, the materials are lost. If you succeed, you manage to combine the materials together, and you receive the unfinished product. In order to complete it, you must spend a number of crafting points through continued attempts at crafting the item. At this stage, even if you fail your crafting checks, you won't lose the item. It will only cost you time. You regain crafting points gradually each day. Either way, once you're done crafting, you can sell the produce at a shop. There are a number of them that players can own and display their wares in. This is especially handy since you don't have to be online for others to be able to purchase from your shop. It certainly would have been helpful when it came to selling the adamantine I had burning a hole in my pocket. Kept trying the traditional method of stalking would-be clientele, but alas, to no avail. Most folks either have their own adamantine or can't afford it even if they are interested in buying some. Valor, being previously the only one to make a deal, became my primary source of hounding. I was really dogged in my sales pitch, materializing in front of him at every turn. We even got to see Arabella Herald again, the person who was overseeing our arrest and subsequent reimbursement for the trouble. Speaking of Arabella, there was a moment between her and Alfred that I unfortunately did not capture on screen, which led to one of my absolute favourite character developments. I'll try to paint a vivid picture, so let me first set the scene. Not many people know this, but there is a building at the end of Aristotle Street, just past the barracks and the blacksmith, which houses the corridor press. The foyer is open to the public, but beyond it is one of the many player-owned houses, except this one has a special function in that it offers the owner a writing desk from which to publish news articles that are then added to the newspapers spread throughout Arelith. One fateful night I was exploring the premises when I discovered that the previous owners had left the place vacant. I wasted no time in casing the joint, and upon finding the back rooms to my satisfaction, I decided this would make a perfect place to stash my goods. Before I had the chance to head to the bank and make it official, however, I ran into who else but Arabella Herald between me and the door. The difference between our meeting this time was that I was no longer in disguise, but rather as Alfred Hardy. She explained that she was to be the new owner of the Corridor Press, and asked whether I was one of the reporters working there. I swiftly said yes, and in a stroke of genius, invoked the name of the previous owner, Casimir de Lanza, as my employer. A plausible enough lie, since what other possible reason would I have to be in the press house? She either believed me, or liked the cut of my jib, and decided to keep me in her employ. I was thrilled at the endless possibilities that this presented in terms of roleplay opportunities. You see, when it comes to having an excuse to be nosy, no other profession comes close, and that is the key to inserting oneself into other people's goings-on. To begin with, I decided to pursue a lead I had passed by about the discovery of some ancient artifact. This was decidedly a wizardly affair, and despite having no inclination towards magic, Alfred was keen to learn more and spread the word. Hence, he set forth to his first interview. Lissa here had placed an advert somewhere about a stipend offered to those who would conduct research on the artifact. She was kind enough to agree to an interview and showcase the artifact itself. The artifact appeared to be a totem of some sort, and is described as follows. This pillar, which appears to be of petrified wood or stone, is old. It has numerous runes and markings of some sort embossed with what appears to be metal that shifts from what looks like gold to silver to something unrecognizable, yet there is no separation or seam in the metal. There also appears to be some manner of power emanating from the artifact, yet it does not appear to conform to any of the known realms of magic. Every so often, at what appears to be a random pattern, one of the runes glows faintly, then dims once more. Tacked to the artifact are the following instructions for research reports. Please limit the report to a single page, sign, and date the report, and leave the report to Alenduil's door for review. He or another shall contact the researcher to perhaps speak more on the topic, or at least offer the research grant. If need be, bank transfers may occur instead. Kind of reminds me of the obelisk in 2001, A Space Odyssey. It's alien nature, nobody knows what its purpose is or what it does. It also brings to mind paranormal stories about a homicidal fridge that you have to stare at in order to keep it calm. I'm not sure if this was a player-made effort or if a dungeon master left it for someone to find. Within the game engine, I don't think it has any function beyond decorative, but it serves as a catalyst for roleplay. At one point, there was a surge of player-made vases that were described to be leaking some form of corruption and tainting wildlife. Naturally, it didn't do anything on its own, but players can convince dungeon masters to help them out in situations like this to provide the desired effect as a reward for your efforts. In this case, you could one day have the obelisk produce a portal to another dimension and pull a hapless researcher inside, who then has to be rescued by a bunch of wizards from the arcane tower. Whether the original creation was by a player or dungeon master is irrelevant, when the storytelling opportunities are present for both parties. And that's what it all comes down to, really. Opportunities to roleplay. Ideas and storytelling are what drive the server onwards. You may have a personal goal as a character, but you could perhaps include other players and other characters in your plans, whether directly or indirectly by dropping hints and pieces of information all throughout the world. Just something to keep in mind when next time you make a character or hop onto an old one and find yourself with not much to do. And finding excuses to be part of other players' stories is very important. So don't feel discouraged if you find yourself without a reason to talk to someone. Just say hello and go from there. Or perhaps rob them in a dark alley. Who knows? Either way, this has been Neverwinter Nights, Arelith. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. My name has been Juke, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.